Morning everybody, how are you? Welcome back to the Spurs Talk Show. I'm Sean Butler, Bugsy Malone, just over there. It's very hot today. Quick walkies. This is episode 227 of Tottenham Walks, or the Spurs Walk Show. I hope you are all happy and healthy doing the things that you love with the people that you love doing them with. Please do me a favour guys, like you always do. Smash the like button for me on the video. Smash the subscribe if you haven't already. The numbers continue to fly. It's bonkers. 8,500 now. Madness. Appreciate it always. Let's keep going. Keep going. Hit the notification bell whilst you're at it and drop a comment. Let me know your thoughts on today's topic as regards transfer news, views and clues. A lot of the news today is really about what's happening outside of Tottenham and how it might kind of indirectly affect us, I guess. First and foremost, I'll get you the here we go out of the way. Just as I was leaving the house, Evan Ndicka has here we goed to Roma. Here we gone. And it's a strange one. It's a real strange one. I don't think Tottenham are less of a draw really than Roma. I feel like if you were going to say which team is closest in stature, historically, the size, the fan base, whatever, in the Serie A to Tottenham, I think you'd pick a team like Roma. Now they got the Jose Mourinho draw, that's for sure, and they've done relatively well in Europe in the last couple of years, winning the Conference League and the Europa League. But they certainly don't have massive amounts of money. They don't have massive amounts of money at all. So getting hold of Evan Ndicka is an absolute coup for them. He's a brilliant young centre half. I think he's 23, but he's going to be one of the best in the world if he continues on his trajectory. He's a player that Tottenham really could have done with, a left-sided, left-footed centre-back. He was a free transfer, and Roma are only paying him 4 million euros. I say only. Relatively only paying him 4 million euros net a year, which is, you know, about 80 grand a week, and that's in euros. So to me it's a strange one when we're thinking about paying for Clement Longley and paying 6 million for him, 7 million for him, which is a cut price fee, and taking on his wages. Now, like I said yesterday, I don't suppose for a second that Tottenham would pay him the same amount of money as what he's getting paid at Barcelona, which is 10 million a year, and he still has 3 years left to go on it. So you can understand why Barcelona want out of that contract, owing the guy 30 million in wages. But Evan Ndicka versus Clement Longley isn't even a conversation. It's not even a debate. And yet you could get twice the player for zero upfront fee and half the wages. Like you could easily, Tottenham easily could have paid him 120 grand a week, smashed Roma out of the water on the salary side, paid his agent, paid his parents and himself, you know, a couple of million each as a signing fee, as a welcome package, buy him a house, buy him a car, whatever he wants. And you'd still have change left over than what you would get doing the same thing or paying the negotiated fee for a Clement Longley. It's a very strange one. The rumours are, of course, that Ndicka turned us down in January. So maybe he just doesn't want to come to the Premier League. Maybe he just doesn't think that Tottenham are a big enough club or it's too much of a mess. But if it wasn't that, if it was just that we were snoozing on it, then it's a real strange one. Missed that opportunity, kick in the teeth, and we move on. In other news, as I say, a lot of the news is coming around that's affecting us from outside of Tottenham. Kylian Mbappe has essentially handed in a transfer request. He's alerted PSG to the fact that he will not be signing a new contract, signing an extension on his contract, which officially runs out next summer. And so I guess you could say in a nutshell that PSG are in the same position that Tottenham are with regards to Harry Kane. Make a decision. Do you sell him now? Do you gamble that you can convince him to sign during the season? and then run the risk of losing him for free next summer. It adds another twist to the Harry Kane saga. Before we get into the connotations of it, remember Mbappe has gone through this before, where he was going to leave Paris, go to Real Madrid. Real Madrid put out the welcome party for him essentially, and then at the last minute he signed for PSG again on a ridiculous packet, ridiculous wages. But look, he's one of the best players in the world and everyone would love to have him, and it makes the whole Harry Kane saga interesting. And the reason why is because if Daniel Levy is looking at Harry Kane's future and thinking, I'll only let you go overseas, and the only place overseas that Harry Kane would probably be interested in going to, and I say probably because I'm not sure, but would be Real Madrid. There's a logical argument for Real Madrid that doesn't really kind of hold water when you're talking about PSG or Bayern Munich so much. But maybe Real Madrid now turn their attentions to their previous desired superstar, Mbappe. Or maybe not. Are they annoyed, irritated by the way that they were let down last time round? What about Manchester United? Reports out today that they're looking at Rasmus Højlund, who is an up-and-coming superstar from Atalanta. Spoken a lot about him. I think he's going to be a absolute star in a couple of years. Really, really good, really talented, special player. So quick as well. But there's also the news out that the Qataris have won the 73rd round of bidding, or whatever it is now. The story that never ends. The Manchester United takeover speculation. Apparently now the Qataris have come back in with a bigger bid, and it looks likely that they're going to go their way. And so will they come in and want to make a statement signing? And if so, is that going to be Kylian Mbappe? Does the fact that Mbappe is now on the market change or set a baseline around what the real valuation of Harry Kane is? What happens if PSG make a deal with Real Madrid right now, or Manchester United right now, because they know that they have to get it done, because this time around they're not going to be able to convince Kylian Mbappe to stay, and they need time to go and find their replacement. If that price is set at 100 million, for argument's sake, what does that do to Harry Kane's price? If it's set at 150 million, what does that do to Harry Kane's price? Who is valued at a higher level in terms of goal scoring, in terms of age on their side, in terms of brand, in terms of the opportunity, what it does to the team, the necessity of that skill set versus the out-and-out goal scorer that can also play the creator-in-chief like Harry Kane can. Like, it's a really interesting dynamic. And, you know, who's going to shoot first, who's going to move first, is also fascinating. Personally, this story, that the way I could see it ending up, is Mbappe moving to Real Madrid, Daniel Levy still remaining stubborn as hell and absolutely not dealing with Manchester United, Manchester United moving for Rasmus Højlund, Harry Kane not signing a new contract. And I've mentioned this before, it's not beyond the realms of possibility that he runs down his contract, and by this time next year, all of the clubs that would provide an opportunity for him to almost guarantee winning a trophy don't need Harry Kane, and he might end up staying at Tottenham almost under duress. I'm not saying that's the most likely scenario. I still think he will possibly move this summer. There's as likely a chance of Manchester United coming in and buying Mbappe with Qatar money and Real Madrid stumping up for Harry Kane. I think all options are open. Every door is as wide to walk through right now, with Harry Kane leaving, staying, signing a new contract. I think anything is on the table, and the Mbappe story just adds a lot more spice to the situation. I'd love to know your thoughts on how you see the Harry Kane saga dragging out, and what do we do in a world where we do sell him? We obviously already need, in all likelihood, a replacement for Danjuma and Lucas Moura, someone who can play on the width, and obviously we will need someone to replace Harry Kane if he goes. A lot of rumours about Kyogo for Rahashi. Would he come in and play in the 9? He, I think, alluded to some comments, I think a couple of days ago, to the Celtic press or the Scottish press, that he was, when he came to Celtic, he never dreamed he'd be able to emulate or hit the same sort of numbers or have the same story there as his compatriot. Was it Nakamura? Forget the name, I think it was Nakamura, a few years ago. But actually, as time has moved on, he's actually getting closer and closer, and so maybe he's alluding to this idea that he wants to stay there and recreate his own story. Postecoglou, I'm sure, would have faith in him to come to Tottenham, and he would probably fit the system better than a lot of people that are out there, and so we'll have to follow that story with a lot of interest. Where I'd also sort of go to is, on this pathway to trying to find value in players that are good enough to compete for Tottenham but don't break the bank, considering how many different players we need to buy this summer or over the next couple of windows to recreate the team in Postecoglou's image, we have to be smart and savvy. And there is a player that I think is phenomenal. I think he will be a phenomenal talent, and that is 23-year-old Club Brugge wing forward ANDREAS SKOV OLSEN. Now, I can't put his stats up, the FB refs up, for you to watch now like I did yesterday, because FB refs only shows the top 5 leagues and Belgium isn't obviously one of them. But I will talk about him in a different video where I get him up on the Y-Scout tool. But I've watched him long before I found out his stats were so good. He caught my eye in the Champions League earlier on in the season. I heard about him before, and I've subsequently gone and done my research, and I think this kid is absolutely special. He's only played, I think, 22. I've got my stats in my hand here. I think in 30 games in all competitions this season, he scored 9 goals and 7 assists. 7 goals and 5 assists in the league. He scored 8 international goals, 2 goals and 2 assists in the Champions League, I think, or maybe 1 goal in the Champions League and 1 goal in the local cup. He's so talented. He's big as well. He's 6'2", and he's very quick. He's just a really difficult guy to pick up. He finds himself in interesting spaces all the time. He didn't have a brilliant World Cup, I'll be honest. If you remember him from the World Cup, you wouldn't have been dazzled by him, but I think he's just an absolute bundle of talent. And he's only valued at about 13 or 14 million euros by Club Brugge. So maybe a kind of 18 to 20 million pound bid would be enough to get him out the door. Whether he'd want to leave Bruges to come to Tottenham, you'd hope so. Obviously he'd be sacrificing Champions League football, but he's coming to a more competitive league week in, week out. Who knows? For me personally, I think he'd be a wonderful replacement to sit up there and compete with the likes of, Kulusevski if we're going to make him permanent, or Pedro Porro. And he can play on the left and the right. He can also drift in as well. Really, really talented player, offers something different and a really good option to have. I really like him. The other option, of course, is KUDOS from Ajax. He's another option. I think he would be very, very sought after if he was available. Newcastle are circling for him. So are Arsenal. He's got an absolute bag of goals for Ajax this year. I wrote his stats down as well. I think in 40 appearances, he scored 18 goals and 6 assists. 11 and 3 in the league in Holland. 4 and 2 in the Champions League. Plus, of course, his exploits in international competitions as well. A very, very talented youngster. He's valued at 30 million, but I'd imagine he would go for 40 or up. And like I say, there are options after Harry Kane. There are ways that we can pivot, and if you could get 120 million quid, 110 million quid for Harry Kane now, then I think you can go in a different direction. You can throw good money at good players that are younger and reshape the team. And both ANDREAS SKOV OLSEN and MOHAMMED KUDOS, they are both workhorses. They will chase down blind alleys. They will do what's asked of them from Postecoglou's system. And they also have the creative and technical abilities on the ball. They have pace, they have acceleration. Both of them can do a lot of things that other players in our squad currently can't. So if Tottenham could look at either one of those two, I mean, there's so many more, but we're going to go through them over the summer. so much time to talk about them. Today I wanted to talk about those two specifically. In a world where we need to replace Harry Kane, or in a world where we don't, but we still need to replace Lucas Moura and Danjuma. Let me know your thoughts, guys. What I would end on is, for me, Harry Kane, the decision has to be made this summer. He either, just to avoid the risk, I think he either stays and he signs and commits to an extra 2 years with a minimum fee release clause, so we know where we're at and we have ourselves a bit more time and reassurance, or we let him go and move on. There will be a time when Harry Kane has kicked his last ball for us. That day may have already passed, or it may happen in 3 or 4 years' time, but Tottenham have to get used to a future at some point that does not have Harry Kane in the 10 shirt. Let me know your thoughts, guys. Like, subscribe and comment. And as always, bye.